The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday morning. Maya pulled her jacket tighter as she rushed through the door of her favorite coffee shop, shaking water droplets from her hair. This little cafe had become her second home over the past year. With its warm lighting and quiet corners, it was the perfect place to work on her graphic design projects without paying rent for an actual office. She needed this today, more than ever. Her laptop bag felt heavier than usual, weighed down not just by her computer but by the stress of 3 client deadlines and an overdue electric bill sitting on her kitchen counter. Being a freelance designer sounded romantic when she told people about it at parties, but the reality was far less glamorous. Some months were good. Most months were a struggle. The coffee shop was packed, which wasn't surprising for a Tuesday morning. Maya joined the line, already thinking about which corner table she'd claim once she got her usual order. That's when she saw him. He was sitting in the booth by the window, the one everyone wanted but rarely got. His back was to her at first, but something about the way he held his shoulders made her pause. She couldn't explain it, just a strange tug of familiarity that made her stomach flip. Then he turned his head to look out at the rain, and Maya's breath caught in her throat. It was Adrian. Adrian Chen. Her Adrian from college, though he hadn't been hers for 12 years now. Her first instinct was to run. Just leave the line, forget the coffee, and get out before he saw her. Her heart was pounding so hard she was sure everyone around her could hear it. But her feet wouldn't move. She stood there frozen, staring at a man she thought she'd never see again. He looked so different. The Adrian she remembered wore thrift store jeans and band t-shirts. He had that messy student look, always running late to class with coffee stains on his sleeves. This man wore a suit that probably cost more than her rent. Everything about him screamed success and money. His hair was styled perfectly, and even from across the room she could see the gleam of an expensive watch on his wrist. But then he turned fully, scanning the cafe, and his eyes landed on her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Maya watched his expression change from casual boredom to shock to something else she couldn't quite name. Recognition, disbelief, maybe joy. He stood up so fast he nearly knocked his coffee cup over. Catching it just in time, Maya watched him weave through the tables toward her, and suddenly she was 20 years old again, feeling all those same butterflies she thought had died a long time ago. Maya. His voice was deeper than she remembered, but it still had that slight crack when he was nervous. Is it really you? She managed a small smile, trying to appear calm even though her hands were shaking. Hi, Adrian. Long time no see. The words felt stupid the moment they left her mouth. Long time no see? They had been in love. He had been her whole world for 2 years. And then one day he was just gone. No explanation, no goodbye, nothing. Just a short text saying he had to leave school and couldn't be with her anymore. I can't believe this, Adrian said, running his hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Maya's chest ache. What are the odds? I mean, this is crazy. The woman behind Maya in line cleared her throat pointedly. Maya realized she was holding up the cue. Oh, sorry, she mumbled, stepping forward to order. No, wait, Adrian said quickly. He pulled out his wallet, and Maya caught a glimpse of several credit cards that looked heavy and metallic. Let me buy your coffee, please. We should catch up. Maya wanted to say no. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a bad idea. But her mouth said, okay, that would be nice. They ordered, and Adrian insisted on adding a pastry to her order when she hesitated over the prices. Then they sat down in his booth, the one by the window where rain streaked down the glass like tears. Maya set her laptop bag on the floor and wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, needing something to do with her nervous energy. You look amazing, Adrian said, and she almost laughed because she knew that wasn't true. Her jacket was 3 years old. Her jeans had a small tear in the knee that she kept meaning to fix, and she'd barely had time to brush her hair that morning. You look different, she replied, which felt safer than saying what she was really thinking. The suit. It's very corporate. He glanced down at himself and made a face. Yeah, I guess I clean up okay now. It's weird, isn't it? Sometimes I still feel like that broke college kid who survived on ramen and optimism. So what happened? The question came out before Maya could stop it. I mean, you left so suddenly. No warning. And now you're, what, a businessman? Adrian's smile faded a bit. He looked down at his coffee and Maya could see him choosing his words carefully. It's a long story. My mom got sick, really sick, right at the end of junior year. I had to leave school to take care of her. We didn't have insurance, didn't have savings. It was just me and her. Oh, Maya felt her chest tighten. She remembered his mom from the one time she'd met her. A tiny woman with a huge smile who'd made them dinner and told embarrassing stories about Adrian as a kid. Adrian, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Pride, I guess. Shame, I don't know. He shook his head. She always wanted me to be successful, to make something of myself. When she died 6 months later, I just threw myself into work. I'd been messing around with some coding projects in school, nothing serious. But I turned one of them into an app. Then that app became a company. And that company became something bigger than I ever imagined. Maya studied his face, seeing the tiredness behind his eyes despite the expensive clothes. You built a company? I did, Tech Vision Solutions. We do software development for corporations. He said it casually, like he was talking about managing a coffee shop, not running a business. It grew faster than I could handle, honestly. 7 years of barely sleeping and suddenly everyone's calling me a success story. She wanted to ask how successful. Wanted to know if he was just comfortable or truly wealthy. But it felt rude, so she changed the subject. I finished school, got my art degree. Now I'm freelancing as a graphic designer. That's amazing. You always had such incredible talent. I bet your work is beautiful. Maya shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. It pays the bills, mostly. I work from coffee shops because my apartment is too depressing to stare at all day. She regretted saying it immediately. Why had she told him that? Now he'd know she was struggling, and the last thing she wanted was his pity. But Adrian just nodded like he understood. I worked from a Starbucks for 2 years while building the company. My apartment was basically a closet with a hot plate. I get it. They talked for another hour, and Maya forgot about her deadlines and her unpaid bills. She forgot about the 12 years of hurt and confusion. It felt like no time had passed at all, like they were still those college kids sharing dreams over cheap coffee, except everything had changed. He was wearing a suit that cost thousands. She was wearing secondhand everything. He was someone important now. She was still trying to figure out where she fit in the world. When Adrian finally checked his phone and cursed softly, Maya realized how much time had passed. I have a meeting in 20 minutes, he said, looking genuinely disappointed. But Maya, can we do this again? I really want to keep talking. There's so much I want to ask you. She should have said no, should have protected herself from whatever this was. But instead she found herself nodding. Same time next week? She suggested. Adrian's face lit up with that smile she remembered, the one that had made her fall in love with him all those years ago. It's a date. Well, not a date, just coffee. As friends. Old friends catching up. He was rambling, nervous, and it made him seem less like a successful businessman and more like the boy she used to know. I'll be here, Maya said softly. She watched him leave, joining a man in an equally expensive suit who was waiting by a black car outside. As they drove away, Maya sat alone in the booth and stared at her reflection in the window. What had she just agreed to? And why did her heart feel like it was waking up after a very long sleep? Maya told herself all week that it was just coffee. Just 2 old friends catching up, nothing more. But she changed her outfit 3 times that Tuesday morning, before settling on a casual sweater that looked effortless, but had actually taken her 20 minutes to choose. She hated herself a little for caring so much. When she walked into the cafe, Adrian was already there at the same window booth. This time he wasn't in a suit. He wore dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt, and somehow that made Maya even more nervous. The suit had felt like armor, a reminder that he was different now, untouchable. But dressed like this, he looked too much like the boy she used to love. You came, he said, standing up as she approached. That smile again, the one that made her forget to breathe. I said I would, Maya replied, sliding into the booth across from him. He'd already ordered for both of them, her usual coffee and a blueberry muffin, the kind she always used to get when they were in school. The fact that he remembered such a small detail made her chest feel tight. They started with safe topics. The weather, the traffic, how the city had changed over the years. But Maya could feel the unasked questions hanging between them like fog. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Tell me everything, she said, leaning forward. You said you built a company, but what does that actually mean? What happened after you left? Adrian took a long sip of his coffee like he was buying time to figure out where to start. After my mom passed, I was lost. I had about $300 to my name and an apartment I couldn't afford. I started doing freelance coding work. Anything I could find online. Spent every night teaching myself new programming languages, building things just to see if I could. Maya watched his face as he talked. There was pain there, old wounds that hadn't quite healed. I'd been working on this app in college, remember? The one that was supposed to help small businesses manage their inventory? He looked at her and she nodded. She remembered late nights in the library. Adrian hunched over his laptop, explaining his ideas while she pretended to understand the technical stuff. I finished it, launched it for free just to have something in my portfolio. Within a month, 50 businesses were using it. Within 3 months, 500. That's incredible, Maya said, and she meant it. It was terrifying. Adrian corrected her with a small laugh. I had no idea what I was doing. These businesses were depending on my app, and I was just some kid working from a coffee shop. But then a venture capital firm reached out. They wanted to invest. Real money, more than I'd ever seen in my life. Maya tried to imagine it. Adrian, grief-stricken and alone, suddenly being offered a chance at something bigger. So you took it? I took it. And I worked harder than I've ever worked at anything. 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I hired a team, we expanded the app, built more features. Within 2 years, major corporations were using our software. Within 5 years, we were handling data management for Fortune 500 companies. He paused, running his finger around the rim of his coffee cup. 7 years after I left school, I sold a portion of the company to investors. That's when the money really came. More money than I knew what to do with. The way he said it didn't sound happy. It sounded exhausted. So you're rich, Maya said, stating the obvious because she didn't know what else to say. I'm a billionaire, Adrian said quietly, like the word tasted bad in his mouth. On paper, anyway. Most of it's tied up in the company stock, investments, all that complicated financial stuff. But yeah, I have more money than I'll ever need. Maya sat back, actually processing this for the first time. A billionaire. She'd thought maybe he was doing well. Maybe he was comfortable. But a billionaire? That was a whole different universe. I can see your brain working, Adrian said gently. You're thinking about how different we are now, how I'm in this whole other world, aren't you? Maya asked more sharply than she intended. I mean, look at us. You just casually mentioned being a billionaire like you're talking about the weather. Meanwhile, I'm over here celebrating when I land a client who pays me $1,000 for a logo design. Maya, no, it's fine. I'm happy for you, really. You deserve success after everything you went through. She meant it, but it still hurt. Hurt to realize how far apart their lives had gone. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You want to know what I did last Tuesday? The day before I saw you here? Maya shrugged, not sure where he was going with this. I sat in a boardroom with 12 people discussing quarterly profits for 3 hours. Then I had lunch with investors who spent the whole meal talking about their vacation homes. Then I went to a charity gala where everyone wanted something from me. Money, connections, endorsements. I smiled and shook hands and wrote checks, and the whole time I felt absolutely empty. His voice was raw now, honest in a way that made Maya's anger dissolve. I came to this cafe the next morning because it's the only place I've found in this city that feels real. And then I saw you, and for the first time in years I felt like myself again. Maya didn't know what to say to that. She watched him, really looked at him, and saw past the expensive watch and the perfect haircut to the loneliness underneath. Do you have anyone? She asked softly. Friends, someone special? Adrian laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. I have a business partner, Kevin. He's probably my only real friend, and even he's more interested in profit margins than personal stuff. As for someone special, he shook his head. I was engaged for a while, Isabella. She was beautiful, sophisticated, came from old money. Everyone said we were perfect together. What happened? I realized I didn't love her. She didn't love me either, not really. She loved the idea of me, the status, the lifestyle. We were just playing parts in each other's lives. He looked directly at Maya, and his eyes were intense. I've dated a lot over the years, always wondering if they wanted me or my bank account. It gets exhausting, never knowing if someone's feelings are real. Maya felt something crack in her chest. All this time, she'd imagined Adrian living some perfect life, happy and fulfilled with his success. She'd never considered that maybe he was lonely too. What about you? Adrian asked, his voice gentle. You mentioned freelancing, but tell me the rest. Are you happy? Dating anyone? I was engaged 3 years ago, Maya admitted. His name was Josh. We met at a design conference, dated for 2 years, got engaged. It felt right, you know? Stable, safe. What happened? He got a job offer in Seattle. Amazing opportunity. Exactly what he'd been working toward. He assumed I'd just pack up and follow him. Maya played with her napkin, tearing little pieces off. But I couldn't. My whole life is here. My few clients, my apartment, everything. We fought about it for months. He said I was holding him back, that I was too scared to take risks. Maybe he was right. He was an idiot, Adrian said firmly. You didn't hold him back. You just knew what you wanted, and it wasn't the same thing he wanted. That's not your fault. Maya smiled despite herself. Thanks. It took me a long time to believe that. I spent a year after the breakup convinced something was wrong with me, that I wasn't brave enough or ambitious enough or just enough. And now I'm just trying to survive, honestly. The freelance thing is harder than I thought. Some months are okay. Some months I'm eating ramen and skipping meals to make rent. I keep telling myself it'll get better, that I'll land that one big client who'll change everything. She laughed at herself. Listen to me, complaining about my problems to a billionaire. I sound ridiculous. You don't, Adrian said seriously. Maya, I remember those struggles. I lived them, and I never forgot what it was like to check my bank account and feel sick at what I saw there. Money changes some things, but it doesn't erase where you came from. They sat in silence for a moment, the coffee shop bustling around them. I looked you up online after last week, Adrian admitted. I hope that's not creepy. I found your portfolio website. Your work is stunning. That rebrand you did for that bakery, the colors, the typography, everything. You're incredibly talented. Maya felt her cheeks heat. You really looked at my work? Every piece. And I kept thinking how my company's marketing materials are boring corporate nonsense. We spend thousands on design agencies that give us the same bland stuff everyone else has. He leaned forward, excitement creeping into his voice. Maya, I want to hire you. What? Maya's stomach dropped. Adrian, no. That's charity. It's not charity. It's business. My marketing director has been bugging me for months to refresh our brand image. You're perfect for it. And I'll pay you properly, market rate. Actually above market rate because your work deserves it. I can't accept that, Maya said, even though every practical part of her brain was screaming that she was an idiot. It would be weird. We're trying to be friends again and mixing money into that. Then don't think of it as me hiring you. Think of it as my company hiring you. I'll have my marketing director reach out officially. You'll work with her, not with me. I'll barely be involved. He was talking fast now, trying to convince her. Please, Maya, let me do this. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because you're good at what you do and my company needs that. Maya wanted to say no, wanted to keep her pride intact. But she thought about her overdue bills, her dwindling savings, the stress that kept her up at night. Could she really afford to refuse work just because of who was offering it? Let me think about it, she said finally. Adrian nodded, looking like he wanted to push harder but holding himself back. That's fair. No pressure, I promise. They stayed another hour and the conversation drifted back to easier topics. College memories, favorite movies, the little things that used to make them laugh. When they finally left, Adrian walked her to her car, an old sedan that looked even more pathetic next to the sleek black vehicle his driver had pulled up in. Same time next week? Adrian asked. Yeah, Maya said. Same time. She drove home with her mind spinning. Adrian was offering her a lifeline, maybe the break she'd been desperately needing. But accepting it meant stepping into his world even just a little bit, and she wasn't sure she was ready for what that might mean. Maya stared at the email on her laptop screen for the 5th time that morning. It was from Rachel Kim, the marketing director at Tech Vision Solutions. Professional, polite, and offering her a contract that would pay more for one project than she usually made in 3 months. All she had to do was click reply and say yes, but her finger hovered over the keyboard, refusing to move. 3 days had passed since her last coffee with Adrian. 3 days of lying awake at night arguing with herself. Taking this job made sense. It was good money, legitimate work, and heaven knew she needed it. Her landlord had already sent 2 reminder texts about rent, but it also meant stepping into Adrian's world, seeing him regularly and pretending her heart didn't skip when he smiled at her. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Priya. Did you take the job yet, or are you still being stubborn? Maya had told Priya everything, and her friend's response had been immediate and blunt. Are you insane? Take the money. Who cares if your ex is a billionaire? This is business. Maybe Priya was right. Maybe Maya was overthinking this. She took a breath and typed out her response to Rachel, accepting the contract before she could change her mind again. Her finger hit send and immediately her stomach twisted with anxiety and relief in equal measure. The reply came within minutes. Rachel wanted to meet Monday morning at the Tech Vision offices downtown. She included the address and Maya felt her anxiety spike higher. She'd have to go to his building, walk into his world, see exactly how successful he'd become. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Maya changed outfits 4 times before settling on simple black pants and a nice blouse. Professional but not trying too hard. She took the bus downtown because parking would cost $20. Money she couldn't waste. The Tech Vision building was impossible to miss, all glass and steel, reaching 30 stories into the sky with the company name in sleek letters across the top. The lobby was intimidating. Marble floors, modern art on the walls, security guards in crisp uniforms. Maya gave her name at the front desk, and a young woman with a tablet appeared to escort her upstairs. The elevator was faster than any she'd ever been in, and her ears popped as they rose. Rachel's office was on the 15th floor. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. "Maya, wonderful to finally meet you. I've been following your work online. That rebrand you did for the bookstore last year? Brilliant use of negative space." They spent an hour discussing the project. Tech Vision wanted a complete visual refresh, something that felt modern but trustworthy, innovative but established. Rachel showed her the current materials and Maya could immediately see the problem. Everything was too stiff, too corporate, no personality at all. "I have ideas already," Maya said, surprising herself with her own confidence. "Your current branding feels like every other tech company. But you're not just another tech company. You started small. You understand what your clients need because you've been where they are. That story, that authenticity should be in everything you create." Rachel's eyes lit up. "Exactly. That's exactly what I've been trying to tell people. Can you put together some initial concepts? Nothing final, just direction ideas. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks." They were wrapping up when the office door opened without a knock. Maya felt him before she saw him. Adrian walked in, and for a second their eyes met and the professional atmosphere crackled with something else entirely. "Rachel, I need those reports from—" He stopped. "Maya, I didn't know you were here today." "First day meeting," Rachel said, glancing between them with sudden interest. "Maya's going to do amazing things for our brand. She already has ideas that are better than anything the last agency gave us. I'm sure she does." Adrian's voice was warm, and Maya felt her face heat under his gaze. Maya's always been incredibly talented. The way he said it, the history in those words, made Rachel's eyebrows rise slightly. Maya wanted to disappear into the floor. "I should go," Maya said quickly, standing up. "Let you both get back to work. Rachel, I'll have those concepts to you by next week." "I'll walk you out," Adrian said. "You don't have to. I want to." They rode the elevator down in silence, standing too far apart like they were afraid to get too close. In the lobby, Adrian guided her toward a quiet corner away from the morning rush of employees. "I really didn't know you'd be here today," he said. "I wasn't trying to ambush you, I know. It's fine. Rachel seems great and the project is exciting." Maya adjusted her bag on her shoulder, a nervous habit. "Your building is impressive. Very fancy. It's too much, honestly. I wanted something smaller when we were looking at office space, but the board insisted we needed to project success." He made a face. "Half the offices are empty. We don't need this much space, but apparently image matters." "Must be hard," Maya said, and immediately regretted the sarcasm in her voice. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "No, you're right. I'm complaining about problems most people would love to have." Adrian ran his hand through his hair, that familiar gesture. "Maya, I'm really glad you took the contract. Not because of me, but because you deserve opportunities like this. Your work should be seen." "Thank you," she said softly. "Are we still on for tomorrow? Our coffee?" Maya hesitated. Seeing him in his building, in his element, had reminded her of just how different their lives were. She was taking the bus home to her tiny apartment. He was going back upstairs to his corner office with a view of the entire city. "Maybe we should skip this week," she said. "I should focus on the project and you're clearly busy." "Maya, please." His voice was quiet but urgent. "Don't pull away. I know this is weird, working together and trying to be friends. But I don't want to lose you again." The honesty in his face undid her. "Tomorrow," she agreed. "Same time, same place." His smile was worth the risk, But the next morning when Maya arrived at the cafe, Adrian wasn't alone. A woman sat across from him in their booth, and even from across the room, Maya could see she was beautiful. Tall, elegant, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. She was leaning close to Adrian, her hand on his arm, laughing at something he'd said. Maya's first instinct was to leave, just turn around and walk out before either of them saw her. But Adrian looked up at that moment, and his expression changed from polite attention to something like panic. He stood up quickly, saying something to the woman that Maya couldn't hear. She should have left. Should have saved herself the embarrassment. But her feet carried her forward anyway. "Maya," Adrian said as she approached. "I'm so glad you're here. This is Victoria." She was just leaving. Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes as she looked Maya up and down, clearly finding her lacking. "Actually, Adrian, we weren't finished discussing the foundation gala. But I suppose we can continue this later." She stood gracefully, her hand trailing across Adrian's shoulder. "Call me tonight. We have so much to catch up on." She walked past Maya without another glance, leaving a cloud of expensive perfume in her wake. "Sorry about that," Adrian said, gesturing for Maya to sit. "Victoria, it's complicated." "An ex?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer. "Not exactly. We dated on and off for a few years. She's on the board of my charitable foundation, so we still have to work together sometimes. She thinks we should give the relationship another try." He looked uncomfortable. "I've told her I'm not interested, but she's persistent." Maya sat down, but the ease they'd built over the past few weeks felt shattered. "She seems nice. She's not. I mean, she's fine, but we're not right for each other. We never were." Adrian leaned forward. "Maya, you have to know that us having coffee, it's not just nostalgia for me. When I saw you that first day, it felt like waking up. Everything in my life has been gray for so long, and suddenly there was color again." "Adrian, I know it's too soon to say things like this. I know we're supposed to be taking it slow, rebuilding friendship first, but I have to be honest with you. I'm not looking backward to who we used to be. I'm looking forward to who we could become." Maya's heart was racing. Part of her wanted to lean into those words, to admit she felt it too. But the rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. This was dangerous. He had an ex who looked like a supermodel. He lived in a world of foundation galas and board meetings. What did Maya have to offer compared to that? "I don't know if I can do this," she said quietly. "Your life is so big, Adrian. So complicated. And I'm just me. I take the bus. I buy my clothes on sale. I eat leftovers for 3 days because I can't afford to waste food. That woman who just left probably spends more on her morning coffee than I make in a day. Victoria doesn't matter, but she does. And there will be others like her. People from your world who fit better, who understand that life." Maya felt tears threatening and blinked them back. "I accepted the job because I need the money, and I'm going to do amazing work for your company. But whatever this is between us, I think we need to be realistic about it." "Realistic how?" Adrian's jaw was tight. "Realistic that maybe some things are better left in the past." She stood up, leaving her untouched coffee on the table. Adrian stood too, reaching for her hand, but she pulled away gently. "Maya, please don't do this. Don't run because you're scared." "I'm not running. I'm being smart." She forced a smile that felt like it might crack her face. "I'll email you updates on the project. Through Rachel, I mean. Keep everything professional." She walked out of the cafe before he could respond, before she could see the hurt in his eyes, before she could change her mind. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright, the city too loud. She made it 2 blocks before she had to stop and lean against a building, her hands shaking. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. "I'm not giving up on us. I did that once before and spent 12 years regretting it. I won't make the same mistake twice." Maya stared at the message, her vision blurring with tears she'd been holding back. She didn't know what scared her more, the thought of letting him in or the possibility that she already had. Maya threw herself into the work. For 2 weeks straight, she barely left her apartment except for coffee runs and the occasional trip to the grocery store. Her desk was covered with sketches, color palettes, and mock-ups. She worked until her eyes burned and her back ached, pouring every ounce of creative energy into TechVision's rebrand. If she was honest with herself, the work was also a distraction, a way to avoid thinking about Adrian's text message, which she'd read approximately 50 times but still hadn't answered, a way to avoid the confusing mess of feelings that kept her up at night. Priya had stopped by twice to make sure she was still alive and eating real food. "You're being ridiculous," she'd said, unpacking takeout containers on Maya's cluttered desk. "The man told you he has feelings for you. He's not giving up. And you're hiding in your apartment like he's some kind of threat." "He is a threat," Maya had replied. "To my sanity, to my independence, to everything I've worked so hard to build on my own. Or maybe he's just a guy who likes you and wants to help." But Maya couldn't shake the image of Victoria, elegant and confident, belonging in Adrian's world in a way Maya never would. She'd looked up the woman online afterward, which was a mistake. Victoria Chen Whitmore, heiress to a hotel fortune, philanthropist on the board of 6 different charities. Of course she and Adrian made sense together. Of course she wouldn't give up easily. The presentation to Rachel was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. Maya arrived at Tech Vision with her laptop, a tablet full of designs and enough nervous energy to power the entire building. She'd dressed carefully, professional but creative, wanting to look like someone who deserved to be there. Rachel loved everything. She went through each concept with growing excitement, pointing out details Maya had incorporated, asking smart questions about implementation. "This is exactly what we needed," she said finally. "Fresh but sophisticated. It tells our story without being preachy. Maya, this is incredible work." The relief Maya felt was overwhelming. "So you want to move forward with this direction?" "Absolutely. In fact, I want to present this to the full executive team next week. Get everyone's buy-in before we begin implementation." Rachel paused. "That includes Adrian, obviously. Is that going to be a problem?" "No," Maya lied. "Of course not. This is business." Rachel gave her a look that suggested she wasn't fooled. "I've been around long enough to recognize tension between two people. And I saw how Adrian looked at you that first day. But you're right, this is business and your work speaks for itself. Whatever's happening on a personal level doesn't change the fact that you're exactly what this company needs." The executive presentation was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Maya spent the weekend rehearsing, refining her slides, preparing for every possible question. She told herself the knot in her stomach was just normal presentation nerves, not the fact that she'd be seeing Adrian for the first time since walking out of the cafe. Tuesday morning. She arrived early and was escorted to a conference room on the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city. The table was massive, surrounded by leather chairs. Maya set up her laptop with shaking hands. The executives filed in one by one. Rachel introduced her to each of them, their titles blurring together. Chief Financial Officer, Chief Technology Officer, VP of Operations. And then Adrian walked in, followed by another man about his age who Rachel introduced as Kevin Park, Adrian's business partner and Chief Operating Officer. Adrian's eyes found Maya immediately, and she saw everything in that look. Relief that she was there, hurt that she'd ignored his message, hope that maybe this meant something. She looked away quickly, focusing on her presentation notes. "Everyone, this is Maya Patel," Rachel began. "She's the designer working on our rebrand. I've seen her initial concepts, and I think you'll all be very impressed. Maya, the floor is yours." Maya stood, clicked to her first slide, and began to talk. Once she started, the nervousness faded. This was her element, her passion. She walked them through her vision, explaining every choice, every color, every design element. She showed them how the new branding would look across different platforms, from business cards to their website to their software interface. The room was silent when she finished. Maya's heart sank. Had they hated it? Then Kevin started clapping and the others joined in. "That was outstanding," Kevin said. "You've managed to make us look cutting edge without losing the credibility and trust we've built. That's not easy." The CFO nodded. "I particularly appreciate how you've incorporated elements that speak to our origin story, the small details that reference where we started." One by one, the executives praised different aspects of the work. Maya felt her confidence growing with each positive comment. This was real. They genuinely loved what she'd created. She noticed Adrian hadn't said anything. He sat at the head of the table, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. "Adrian," Rachel prompted. "What do you think?" He was quiet for another moment, and Maya felt her stomach drop. Then he smiled, and it was genuine, no business politeness to it. "I think it's perfect. It's everything I couldn't articulate about what this company should represent." But Maya somehow understood. "I say we move forward immediately." The relief Maya felt was quickly replaced by something else when she saw Victoria standing in the doorway of the conference room. How long had she been there? The woman walked in like she owned the place, her heels clicking on the floor. I hope I'm not interrupting, Victoria said, though her tone suggested she didn't care if she was. Adrian, we need to discuss the donor list for Saturday's gala. It can't wait. We're in the middle of a meeting, Adrian said, his voice tight. I can see that. Victoria's eyes swept over Maya dismissively before returning to Adrian. I'll wait in your office then. Don't be long, darling. We have so much to plan. The word darling hung in the air like a challenge. Maya felt every person in the room watching the exchange, reading into it. After Victoria left, Adrian tried to regain focus. Let's talk implementation timeline. Rachel, can you work with Maya on next steps? The meeting wrapped up quickly after that. The energy shifted by Victoria's appearance. As everyone filed out, Maya packed up her laptop, avoiding eye contact with Adrian. But Rachel pulled her aside. Can we talk privately for a minute? Rachel led her to a smaller office down the hall and closed the door. Look, I'm going to be direct because I like you, and I think you deserve honesty. Victoria has been circling Adrian for years. They dated, they broke up. She decides she wants him back, rinse and repeat. She's on the board of his foundation, so he can't completely cut ties with her. Why are you telling me this? Maya asked. Because I saw how you looked when she called him darling. And I want you to know that Adrian has told her repeatedly that it's over. But Victoria isn't used to hearing no. She's been trying to reassert her claim ever since she found out Adrian's been having coffee with someone. Rachel gave her a meaningful look. Word travels fast in our office. People talk. Maya felt her face flush. There's nothing between Adrian and me. We're just old friends. Right. And I'm just the marketing director who happens to notice when her boss lights up like a Christmas tree every time someone mentions your name. Rachel's smile was kind. Maya, you're talented enough to work for any company you want. But for what it's worth, I think you're good for Adrian. I've worked with him for 5 years, and I've never seen him as happy as he's been these past few weeks. Before Maya could respond, there was a knock on the door. Kevin poked his head in. Sorry to interrupt. Maya, do you have a minute? I wanted to discuss something with you. Rachel excused herself, and Kevin came in, shutting the door behind him. He had an easy smile and a casual manner that made him less intimidating than the other executives. First, I want to say again how impressed I am with your work. You really nailed what we needed. He sat down across from her. But I also wanted to give you a heads up about something, friend to friend. Maya tensed. Okay, Adrian's my best friend. Has been since college before all this. He gestured around at the office. I've seen him through everything, the good and the really terrible. And I've watched him date a parade of people who wanted his money, his status, his connections, everything except him. I'm not. I know you're not. That's why I'm talking to you. Kevin leaned forward. Victoria's not going to give up easily. She sees you as competition and she plays dirty. I'm not trying to scare you, but I want you to be prepared. She has resources, connections, and zero qualms about using them to get what she wants. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying she's already been asking questions about you. Looking into your background, your finances, probably trying to find something she can use to convince Adrian you're not right for him. Kevin's expression was serious now. And I'm telling you this because I think you should know what you're walking into if you decide to pursue something with Adrian. Maya felt cold. I haven't decided anything. Adrian and I are just... Maya, I'm not blind. Neither is anyone else who's seen you two together. There's something there, something real. And that terrifies Victoria because she's never been able to get Adrian to look at her the way he looks at you. Kevin stood up. Just be careful, okay? And don't let Victoria intimidate you. You belong here just as much as she does. More, actually, because you earned your place. After Kevin left, Maya sat alone in the office, her mind spinning. She'd thought the hard part would be navigating her feelings for Adrian. She hadn't realized she'd also be navigating his ex-girlfriend's manipulations, office politics, and the complicated reality of his world. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Can we talk? Please, I'm still in the building. I'll meet you wherever you want. Maya stared at the message. She could leave right now, go home, maintain the professional distance she'd tried to create, or she could stop running from something that terrified her but also felt more real than anything had in years. She took a deep breath and typed back, Your office. 5 minutes. Walking to the elevator, Maya had no idea what she was going to say, but she knew she couldn't keep avoiding this conversation. Whatever was happening between them, it was time to face it head on. Adrian's office was exactly what Maya expected. Massive windows, sleek furniture, a view that stretched for miles. But what surprised her were the personal touches. A photo of him and his mother on the bookshelf. A well-worn paperback novel on his desk. The same sci-fi series they used to read together in college. A small succulent plant that looked like it was barely surviving, probably because he forgot to water it. He was standing by the window when she walked in, his back to the door. He turned immediately, and the vulnerability on his face made Maya's chest ache. "You came," he said softly. "I came." Maya closed the door behind her, suddenly unsure where to stand or what to do with her hands. "We need to talk. I know." Adrian gestured to the couch by the window, and they both sat down, careful to leave space between them. "Maya, I'm sorry about Victoria showing up like that. I didn't invite her, and I didn't appreciate her interrupting the meeting or calling me darling in front of everyone. Kevin warned me about her," Maya said. "He said she's been asking questions about me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Of course she has. That's exactly the kind of thing she'd do." He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. "I need you to understand something. Victoria and I were never right for each other. We dated because it made sense on paper. Our families knew each other. We moved in the same circles, everyone expected it. But I never loved her. Not the way you're supposed to love someone you're planning a life with." "Why did you stay with her then?" "Loneliness, I guess, convenience. When you're in my position, it's hard to meet people who see you as a person instead of a bank account. Victoria knew my world, understood the pressures. It felt easier than trying to explain my life to someone new." He looked at Maya directly, but it was hollow. "Every relationship I've had since leaving college has been hollow, because I was always comparing everyone to you." Maya's breath caught. "Adrian, let me finish, please. I need to say this." He shifted closer, not touching her, but near enough that she could feel the warmth of him. "When I saw you in that cafe, it was like everything clicked back into place. All these years I've been going through the motions, building success, making money, but feeling empty inside, and then suddenly you were there. And I remembered what it felt like to be genuinely happy." "I'm scared," Maya admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm scared that I'll never fit into your world, that I'll always be the girl who doesn't belong, who doesn't know which fork to use at fancy dinners, who takes the bus while everyone else has drivers. I'm scared that one day you'll wake up and realize you could have someone like Victoria, someone who actually fits. You think I care about forks?" Adrian's laugh was short and pained. "Maya, I've eaten at the most expensive restaurants in the world, and I'd trade every single meal for one more night of cheap pizza in your dorm room. The money, the status, the lifestyle, I'd give it all up in a heartbeat if it meant I could just be myself again. And the only time I feel like myself anymore is when I'm with you. But you can't give it up," Maya said practically. "You have a company, employees who depend on you, responsibilities. This is your life now. You're right. I can't walk away from my responsibilities. But I can change how I live this life." Adrian took her hand carefully, like he was afraid she'd pull away. "I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm exhausted, Maya. I'm tired of the board meetings and the charity galas and the constant pressure to be someone I'm not. Kevin's been ready to take over as CEO for years. He's better at it than I am anyway. I could step back, take an advisory role, focus on the actual work I love instead of the politics." Maya looked at their joined hands. His was warm, familiar despite the years apart. "You'd really do that?" "I've already started the process. Had a meeting with the board last week. They weren't thrilled, but they agreed. By the end of the year, Kevin will be CEO, and I'll be free to actually live my life instead of just managing it." He squeezed her hand gently. "But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me, because I've been miserable and something has to change. You just help me realize what I actually want. And what do you want? I want to wake up excited about my day instead of dreading it. I want to work on projects that matter instead of attending meetings about meetings. I want to grab coffee without security following me. And yes, I want to see if we can build something real together. Not based on who we were in college and not based on my bank account, but based on who we are right now." Maya felt tears threatening. "What if it doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart and then I've lost you twice? What if it does work?" Adrian countered softly. "What if we're both sitting here in 20 years wondering why we were too scared to try? I already spent 12 years regretting that I left you. I don't want to spend the rest of my life regretting that I found you again but let you walk away." They sat in silence for a moment, the city sprawling below them through the window. Maya thought about all the reasons this was a bad idea, all the ways it could go wrong. But she also thought about how alive she felt when she was with him. How even their arguments felt more real than the safe, comfortable relationship she'd had with Josh. "I have conditions," she said finally. Adrian's face lit up with hope. "Anything. I pay for my own coffee. We split dinner checks. You don't give me expensive gifts or try to solve my problems with money. If we're doing this, we're doing it as equals." "Agreed. And we take it slow. No rushing into anything just because we have history. We date like normal people. Figure out if this actually works in real life." "Absolutely. And if Victoria or anyone else from your world tries to make me feel small, you have my back. No being polite just to keep the peace. Always." Adrian smiled, and it was that genuine smile she remembered from college, the one that had made her fall in love with him in the first place. "Any other conditions?" "Just one more. You have to let me be independent. I need to build my own success, make my own way. I can't be the girl who got everything handed to her because she's dating a billionaire. You're the most talented designer I know. You don't need me for success, but I'm proud to be associated with your work." He paused. "Can I add a condition of my own?" "What?" "Don't shut me out when you're scared. Talk to me instead of running. We lost 12 years because I wasn't honest about what was happening in my life. Let's not make the same mistake again." Maya nodded, feeling something tight in her chest finally loosen. "Okay, we can try this, yeah?" Adrian's whole face transformed with joy. "Yeah, but we're starting at that cafe. Our booth. With regular coffee and none of this corporate office stuff." He laughed, pulling her into a hug that felt like coming home. "Best idea you've had all day." 6 months later, Maya sat in that same cafe booth, but everything had changed. Her design work for Tech Vision had exploded into more opportunities than she could handle. She'd hired 2 junior designers and moved into an actual office space, small but hers. The rebrand had won awards, and suddenly everyone wanted to work with the designer who'd transformed a billion-dollar company's image. Adrian had officially stepped down as CEO, and the relief on his face was visible to everyone who knew him. He still came to the office, but now he focused on mentoring new tech startups and developing innovative projects he actually cared about. The stress lines around his eyes had softened. He smiled more. He looked, Maya thought, like himself again. They'd kept their relationship quiet at first, just the two of them figuring things out without the pressure of public attention. But word had eventually gotten out, as it always did. There had been gossip, speculation, a few nasty articles suggesting Maya was a gold digger. Victoria had made one last dramatic attempt to win Adrian back at a charity event, which ended with Adrian publicly and firmly telling her their relationship was over and asking her to respect his boundaries. Now, on a random Thursday morning, Adrian slid into the booth across from Maya with 2 coffees and that crooked smile she loved. "Guess what I found?" He pulled out a worn paperback, the same sci-fi novel that had been on his office bookshelf. "Remember when we argued for hours about whether the ending made sense?"